Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Joe Morrison here on the brand new Steelers Now, Steelers Night Shift show. I am here with Alan Saunders, our head boss. I would call him the chief, but like Perry used to say in Superman, don't call me chief, kid. But we are here tonight, excited to start this with you guys as we are broadcasting live across 3 platforms. And we are very excited. Alan, how has your day been going, and what's new?
Yeah, it's been going good. Busy day at practice. Of course, Wednesday's a dense coverage day for us. And just had a great episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive with me and Smitty and Jolie Pelusi. So excited about that. And excited to be going live here and getting the audience participation. That's the thing that we really wanted to have here on a weekly basis, is so something where we could just questions from the audience, and I think we're going to do it here throughout the week, the season. Yeah, we're here at week 1, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely. We already got some folks commenting in. We got the Marab. We have, looks like Kobe and Jim. They're all saying hello, and we are excited, and thank you guys for joining. And let's go ahead and jump in. We're here week 1 after preseason, everyone overreacting to fumbles, interceptions, big runs, not so big runs. We are finally here. We've gotten through training camp with a lot of twists and turns in the offseason. And up first, we are on the road at the New York Jets. And of course, there's a lot of storylines kind of hanging over the matchup. You got 2 quarterbacks going against their former teams. Ironically, there's a lot of weird stats being thrown around out there about that. And then Jets have a brand new head coach and coaching staff. And but first, before we get into any type of looming headlines, any stories like that, we got some questions to actually get us started that have to do with the injury front. Today was first day of injury reports, and the first question that we got came in light of an unfortunate injury for New York Jets with their guard, Vera Tucker, who is out for the year. Omar Khan, artist, on Twitter asks, what percentage of defensive snaps do you feel the Steelers will try to bring more than 4 rushers? He feels like that the injury news here can kind of change things to a degree.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's 2 schools of thought here. I mean, one is like definitely, and it looks like that they may not even be playing just a backup. They may actually be moving Joe Tippmann from center to guard to play Myers, their backup center. If it was probably a short-term injury, maybe they would just not want to move 2 positions. But I think that's the way they're leaning here. So anytime you have like guys in new places, you want to move things around and change their eye level and make them make decisions. And like blitzing is definitely part of that. But also, Cam Hayward against the backup should be a 1-on-1 win for the Steelers anyway. So like, do you need to blitz? If you can get pressure without blitzing, that's always preferable. And also, Justin Fields is not the kind of quarterback like I think you want to blitz a ton. I want to keep him in the pocket. I want Justin Fields throwing. Like that, to me, that's how the Steelers win this game. And so I don't think they'll blitz a ton, but I think they'll try to do some stuff where like it's not more than 4, but it's not the 4 you thought it was going to be, where like it's blitz pickup rules for the offensive line and make them communicate and make them pass and things like that without actually taking away from your coverage or sending more people after Fields so that he can just run through your secondary.
No, I agree completely. And I think one of my favorite when it comes to blitzes and creating pressure, I remember years ago on Monday Night Football, John Gruden was like practically peeing himself when he saw the Steelers get a sack off Andy Dalton rushing only 3. The fewer you can rush and get pressure, definitely that's always a plus. But I think it'll be interesting because this Jets offensive line especially with that injury. They're kind of like the Steelers a little bit. They have two really young offensive tackles, and the interior is going to get tested a lot. And yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think we'll definitely see how it plays out. I did see one quote from Patrick Queen. I wasn't sure if it was 100%, if it was true or not. I didn't get a chance to review his stuff, but he said it's called Blitzburg for a reason. And we're kind of getting back to that. I don't know. Maybe we'll see some more heat turned up. And kind of still on that injury front, Mariano on Twitter earlier today, he asked about Jonnu Smith and if he was practicing and if there were any injury updates there. I didn't see him on the injury report, but maybe you have some more insight there.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith's fine. The only players on the injury report of note are Derek Harmon, who's not going to play in week 1, and Nick Herbig, who might. There are some guys who are banged up that are going to play. I think Keanu Benton is not 100%, but is going to play. Guys like Calvin Austin and Alex Highsmith, I think, are pretty close to 100%. They're basically a healthy team. I mean, obviously, the 3 guys on injured reserve, Dante Kent, Will Howard, and Corey Trice, I'm not sure that any of those guys would be playing even if they were healthy. So, I mean, really, you're missing one guy, and maybe Herbig, or maybe you get Herbig at less than 100%. That's really it.
A good deal. Good deal. All right. And speaking of kind of some questions about playing, earlier this week, we had a nice little sound clip of Cam Hayward. He was asked if he would potentially sit out. He said maybe, but he also kind of had to kind of defend his brother there for a minute. We also heard Aaron Rodgers do it, and looks like Mike Sink 92 said he's kind of confused about the outrage on social media regarding Cam and Connor Hayward. It's so strange, and I have to agree with Mike. I think some of the things you see online have been kind of blown out of proportion, but kind of just seeing Cam defend his brother the way he did. I mean, obviously you expect that. But also, Aaron Rodgers today kind of went out of his way, and he mentioned all 4 of the tight ends. So what's your thoughts on people just kind of overreacting to the contract situation and it's just other things like that?
I mean, I try not to tell people how to react to things. I think I can understand why people would not be happy with the idea of Cam Hayward possibly missing a game. I can tell you that's not going to happen. He's going to play. And so like everything else is just a negotiation. The Connor Hayward stuff is bizarre to me because like there are like 10 players on this team worse than Connor Hayward, and nobody bats an eye about any of them being there. But because I don't know what I legitimately don't understand. I mean, the Steelers for years and years and years have invested heavily in guys who are really good special teamers, and they didn't even invest heavily. Hayward's a 6th round pick, making as little as anybody else on this team, and he plays 4 positions on offense. He's the backup at tight end. He's a fullback. He's the emergency backup at running back. He plays H-back. Like I don't know. He's a good player. I really don't understand the vitriol towards their own team. I don't really get it. Like Cam Hayward's an all-time great Steeler. He's going to continue to be an all-time great Steeler. He's probably the team's best player last year. It's all head scratching to me.
No, I agree. I mean, in my opinion, if Connor was not named, last name was Hayward, and he was doing the things we've seen, I think a lot of people would not blink an eye that he made the roster and will understand, hey, he's a very versatile guy. He's a Swiss Army knife. And like you said, big special teams contributor. And if there's one thing that Mike Tomlin values, it's versatility and special teams play. So I don't know. It is definitely strange. But on a lighter note, there's a lot of things to look forward to in week 1. Kobe here is asking, what are the expectations that we have of Kenny Gainwell? He feels like that he somewhat has become a forgotten man in that room, but will end up having a really large role. Week 1 is definitely unpredictable as the approach is, but I think Kenny Gainwell, I think he's slated for some he's going to be the kick returner, and B, I think he's going to have surely some packages. What do you think?
I'm going to deliver the first hot take in the history of Steelers Night Shift, Joe. Kenny Gainwell is going to outsnap and outtouch Caleb Johnson in week 1. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think he will be the team's second running back in both snaps and touches. I don't think they trust Caleb Johnson to pass protect right now. I think he'll be in the game in obvious running situations as a change of pace. He's better than a backup. He's clearly a good runner. But I think the pass protection and the receiving ability are just not anywhere near on par what those other two guys can do. And you got a 41-year-old quarterback. You got a tackle making his second start at right tackle and a left tackle making his first start at left tackle. A Jets team that loves to rush, loves to blitz. And, you're kind of doing the whole rest of the offense a disservice if you value getting your third-round pick out there more than you do protecting Aaron Rodgers and helping the rest of the offense. So I still believe in Caleb Johnson. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to have a good rookie year. I just tried to trade for him in my fantasy league and got shut down again. But I think week 1, you're going to see a lot more Kenny Gainwell than you are Caleb Johnson.
No, I agree. And especially with the way historically Steelers roll out their rookies, with the exception of some guys like they planned with Harmon and whatnot. I think that definitely, makes the most sense there. And Schoolhouse Rock, speaking of the backfield, asked, are we going to get more 2-back sets this year?
I feel like Schoolhouse here understands what gets me going. I love pony football. I haven't seen any of it, so if they're doing it, it's a very well kept secret. So I would think not, but I would be okay with it. I would be okay with it. Now, I will say you're going to see the tight ends line up in the backfield. You will see that. So you will see both Jonnu Smith and Connor Hayward line up as a fullback, H-back in the backfield kind of player. So you will see that, but I don't think you're going to see like Johnson and Warren out there together much. At least not that I've seen so far.
Gotcha. You don't think we're going to have Aaron Rodgers run the triple option?
No. In fact, there's a direct quote from Arthur Smith that said, I didn't get Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf to run the wishbone. So there you go.
There you go. Good deal. All right. VM Rob had a comment and he says, have you gotten any convincing answers as to why there doesn't seem to be optimism? I, for one, am pretty hyped. I don't know if I've personally observed any pessimism. I mean, maybe cautious optimism.
I got some data. So my optimistic Morning Rush episode came out this morning, and today The Athletic put out a survey of NFL fans to gauge their optimism. How about that? And so the Steelers fan base, 51% optimistic, according to whatever methodology The Athletic used for the study. The seventh lowest in the NFL. Only fans of the Jets, Dolphins, Browns, Cowboys, Saints, and Colts are less optimistic than Steelers fans right now. And I definitely feel that. And it's funny because I think this is the best Steelers team I've ever covered on paper entering the season. And there have been years where I've had to be like, no, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. Slow down. I feel like I'm standing in the middle and just have watched everybody run from one side to the other. Like the usual, absurd optimism of the offseason has been replaced with equally absurd pessimism, and I don't get it.
No, I agree. I mean, I definitely have seen a lot of folks saying, for offense at least, kind of saying,
I don't think they're going to have a great offense. I mean, look at what's out there, but how can you look at this defense and not be
excited?
At least somewhat encouraged by the idea of watching Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, a developing Peyton Wilson, Patrick Queen, like Derek Harmon. Like this is as star-studded of a defense as there is in the NFL. Like I want to watch these guys. Maybe people just don't like defense football. I don't know, but like
well, we live in the era of fantasy football. Everyone wants 12 to 10 baseball games. They want college football game types of scores where it's like 51 to 45 Iron Bowl. I don't know. I personally, if you ask me, how do I want to win? I just want to play good defense and I want to control the ball. And yeah, I want to score points, but I don't know. I love defensive football. It really brings out what football is in retrospect, and it's a physical game. And kind of speaking of defense, Desert Cactus has a comment as well. How about a very under discussed story going into this game as the Jets' rookie tackle is going to be starting, and to him has a lot of upside, but he's a very raw prospect. Week 1 against TJ Watt. Is Watt licking his chops, or I don't know?
He should
How do
be.
you feel?
He should be. Absolutely. I mean, I think this is like a 3-sack game for TJ Watt. Now, I think the Jets are probably going to chip him every play.
Oh, sure.
But like Mason Taylor's a rookie too. Like I don't know how much. Brees Hall is a pretty good pass protector. I guess he can help. But yeah, I mean TJ should. I think Membo is a good prospect, but TJ should be taking his lunch money.
No, for sure. And I mean, talk about baptism by fire going against a former
Welcome to
defensive
the
player of
NFL.
the year.
Here's
Oh, for
60
sure.
reps against TJ Watt. Good luck.
Absolutely.
You know what's really wild is I was looking at the Jets depth chart today, looking for this backup offensive line information. Like the Jets draft so well. Like I love their players, and yet they're awful every year. And I have no hope that they're not going to be awful this year. It really just goes to show you that like your front office being smart is only a piece of the puzzle. You got to have good ownership and you got to have good coaching. And they've been at best 1 for 3. But man, like it's pretty bleak to be like that bad when you've drafted that well.
No, for sure. And I think it comes down something like that to organizational philosophy. And I mean, even non-football type of stuff. I mean, sometimes with the Jets ownership organization, I mean, there's at one point that their owner was like rumored to be hiding overseas, trying to avoid some kind of investigation, like stuff like that. It becomes surely a distraction. So, I know folks hate the term trickle down, but that's what organizations do. You have a philosophy and you live and die by it. And, certainly I can understand frustration with some fans about like the Steelers old school philosophy, but it's a tried and true formula that has, that it's worked. I mean, they've been routinely competitive since the merger. All right. And so kind of circling back to Gainwell, they said well, I don't know how necessarily to say their name, but S0MBR said, I don't know how I feel about Gainwell being out there when it's anything other than third down. Dude is 200 pounds. I mean, 200 pounds isn't, I wouldn't say light. Like,
It's not tiny. I mean, he's
yeah.
short. That's the thing is like he's short. Like, I mean, he's 200 pounds. He's 5'9". Like he's well built. I don't. It's not like you're throwing Calvin Austin out there.
Right.
I think
in the backfield.
I think he'll do fine.
Yeah,
he's a good player for the Eagles.
No, for sure. I mean, I remember a few highlight jukes he had against the Steelers last December, and so once I heard he was coming there, I felt good about it. That was just me, though. Benjamin W. Says, thanks for the bonus content. Do you think Rodgers plus great tight ends plus middle of the field will make up for a lack of an imposing wide receiver 2?
No. I mean, it'll be good. It won't replace that. I don't think you'll notice this week. I don't think the Jets are good enough to make the Steelers get uncomfortable. But I think where you'll notice it is if they get into a shootout. if you get into a game against Burrow or against Allen or someone like that where you've got to answer touchdowns, Steelers are not going to be able to just dial up big plays whenever they want in an explosive fashion because they don't have the horses at wide receiver that some of those other teams do. Not that really Buffalo does, but they've got a freak at quarterback. And so I think that's where the lack of a second wide receiver really come out. But I'm not thinking you're going to see that early in the season because I think the Steelers are better than each of their first 5 opponents. I don't think they should be in situations where they have to throw very much. And so I don't think you're going to notice for a while, but I still think it's going to be a problem.
No, I agree. And, I definitely, feel good about what we saw from Roman Wilson the preseason, especially that intriguing speed right off the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to set some things up for the Steelers offense. But like you said, it definitely could become problematic if that trajectory does not continue. If it kind of flattens and becomes more of a wide receiver 3 type of outlook, it could definitely create some problems there. All right. And in terms of wide receiver snaps behind DK, this comes from Mike Sink again. Do you think Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin will get the bulk of the snaps?
I think they're both going to play a lot. I think you might see a little bit more of Roman than you will on a regular week just because Calvin's coming off that oblique injury and they may want to just take it a little easy on him in week 1. I think they'll both play a lot. I think in 12 personnel, when there's only 2 receivers out there, I think it'll be Calvin Austin. But I think you'll see a lot of Roman Wilson in 11. I think they'll probably end up fairly close. And I think like Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek are going to play. Like they're not going to get 0. There's going to be places for them in the rotation as well. Arthur Smith really likes to rotate his offensive weapons. So, I mean, outside of, I think you can count on DK being on the field almost every snap. I think you're going to see everybody else in there in some form. You're going to see all 4 tight ends. You're going to see all 5 wide receivers.
No, for sure. And speaking of things that will influence the Steelers season, Jim has a very good question. Will this be a live or die by the O-line performance? I think not just for the game, but maybe for the season as well. You could ask that.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers literally might live or die by the O-line performance. We'll see if he makes it through the season or not. I think, this is the big question. Can the Steelers keep Aaron Rodgers healthy? And sort of a subset to that is like, how effective can they be running the ball? Because if they just are able to keep Rodgers upright, but they can't run the ball, they're still not going to be a very effective offense. They kind of have to do both. I feel better about their run talent. Like they're just like the personnel, I think, are generally better run blockers than pass blockers. But I thought they were better pass protected than run blocking in the preseason. I think that's generally a good sign. I think it's still probably the biggest question mark on the team, but I feel better about the offensive line than I did before the start of the preseason.
No, absolutely. I agree, especially when I was in Jacksonville, watching them go against, it was only like a couple series against their ones, but I felt pretty good about just watching them not give up like obvious, like, oh my gosh, what were you doing on that type of play? Like I remember last preseason, I think it was against the Bills. There was like a few plays with, I want to say Russell Wilson was in there. He got like pressured 3 consecutive times. And that was kind of like the, oh my gosh, this could be a long season type of feel. But no, I think this, I will say, don't be surprised if both offensive lines really have a rough day, because the Jets have a very good defensive line and so does Pittsburgh. So it's going to be something to watch. Don't be surprised if there's no score going into halftime. All right. And I just lost it. Someone asked what I thought was a pretty good question. Desert Cactus again said, do you think there are teams that are going to be big surprises, both positively and negatively this season?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think the teams that took big jumps last year, I look at the rosters and say, like, I don't see necessarily like improvement for like Denver and Washington. Like, I think those teams were way ahead of the curve last year, and I don't think their rosters got better. Their schedules are going to get more difficult. I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but like, I think if you're a fan of one of those teams and you're thinking like they went from here to here and now it's going to be here, like, I'm not sure I see it. Try to come up with some teams the other way that I think are going to be better than the consensus.
I'll take a bold one. I think the Panthers are going to be better than what people think they are. I don't think they're going to be.
It's so god awful that like anybody can win.
That's true. I don't think they're going to be winning the NFC South good, but I wouldn't be surprised to kind of see them maybe going in the week 14 still in the hunt. Because I mean, they were mathematically eliminated by like week 12 last season, I want to say. I don't know.
I've got all negative things here to say. I think the Lions won't be as good as they've been. I think they'll still be near the top of the NFC, but I don't think they'll be as good as they've been. And I think the Miami Dolphins maybe had the single worst offseason of any team in the NFL, and it would not surprise me a lot if they have like the number one pick. Like that wouldn't be shocking to me. As far as some teams going the other way, I think the Raiders have a very difficult schedule. And so maybe it won't be reflected in their record, but Pete Carroll does not coach bad football teams. And I don't think they're going to be like Geno Smith is very solid. Like that to me just screams like 9-8 team. I don't know. Their record's good. So like, I don't know if they're going to get there, but their win totals are well below that. And I think that's a team that will probably be better than Vegas thinks. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, another team with a fairly soft division, I think they have a chance to be better than people think. I'm not saying they're going to be good, but like the Colts are bad, the Titans are bad. They should have like 4 easy wins right there before you even get into the outside division schedule. And so I think they're probably a little bit better than people are giving them credit for.
No, I agree. I don't know. After they traded for Geno Smith, I think I think that was a step in the right direction for them, because when's the last time they had a good quarterback other than Derek Carr? I mean, it's
I don't know how good Geno's going to be. They're just not going to be bad. Like they're going to be fine, and that's better than they've been. When was the last time they were even fine? I guess the freak year that Antonio Pierce comes in and after who did they fire? I forget who they fired. They fired their coach, and Pierce came in as the linebackers coach and did some good things. But like, I think they'll be solid. They'll probably still lose to Kansas City when they play them. It probably won't do better than splitting with Denver and LA. They could even be fourth in the division, but I think they'll be a tough out for teams that have them on their schedule.
No, sure. It was Josh McDaniels who got fired. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I don't understand why anyone went back to McDaniel, especially what we did to the Colts after 2017. All right, the DM Rob has a good question for us. Do either of us have fond memories of games versus the Jets?
Hey, you got a story about this, which is going up tomorrow morning. So
yeah,
why don't you take this one?
Yeah. So it's funny. What the earliest I remember football, I remember when Ben got drafted. But when I really got into football, like it was like one of those things like I can't miss, was 2006. So 2007, Mike Tomlin gets hired. The Steelers, I'll start off on a not fond note. The Steelers went into New York, 9.5 point favorites against the Jets. They fell behind 10-0. I remember because like the first or second play from scrimmage, they threw a flea flicker that went like almost all the way for a touchdown. And then they end up losing because they couldn't stop Kellen Clemens on his final fourth quarter drive. And then their guy, Leon Washington, had a big punt return. So fond wise, I was a junior in high school, and I kid you not, every single person in 2010 made sure I had the hardest time because I was a Steelers fan. I don't know why. All my buddies that year just gave me a tough time, and they just kept winning and winning and winning. beat the Jets in the Super Bowl, I came to school the next day and was like where you? And I'm down here in Atlanta, so the Falcons, they got handled pretty well against the Packers 2 weeks before, and I was like, you guys couldn't even make it past the divisional round, and ironically, that's Pittsburgh hasn't been back since. So that's probably my most fond memory was that 2010 AFC Championship game. I watched it with one of my dad's buddies who's a Jets fan, and that was a lot of fun times there.
That's the Santonio Holmes pass down the sideline, right, to win that one. Really put the game away in the second half.
No, that was so the week before, Antonio Brown had it like pinned against his helmet, against the Ravens, and they went and scored. This one, Santonio
Holmes in the was that 2010?
He did. Yeah, he did score against us for the Jets to start the second half.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, those Jets teams were not very good, even though they went into the playoffs. That one or the game in overtime, 2004 season. I honestly, I can't think of a fond Steelers Jets memory. And like as bad as the Jets have been, the Steelers haven't done that well against them. They've lost 3 of the last 5, and none of those Jets teams were any good. And there's all kinds of ridiculous losses in there too. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't know that I have an answer. Also, the Jets have been like an irrelevant franchise for my entire life. So like, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're playing the New York Jets, the options are win and it's not memorable, or lose and it's memorable in a bad way. It's sort of like Alabama playing Vanderbilt. Like, only bad things can happen. Right. Like, either you win and no one remembers it happened, or like you lose and then it's a meme. Like, I don't know. I can't even. I'm trying to rack my brain from like the 90s even, and I can't come up with anything.
Yeah. No, now you mention it. Yeah, the Jets, those losses are definitely. Like, I remember, so it's funny. This is how I remember my wedding anniversary. Been through 6 touchdowns against the Colts. I got married the day before. He did it again against Baltimore. Then they went to New York and lost to Michael Vick. So that kind of stands out to me. And then Kenny Pickett getting put in at halftime and throwing 3 picks. So
they lost to Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
In that game, they lost to Sam Darnold in 2019.
Yep.
And they lost to Vic in 2014. Like, just those are just awful games. Mark Sanchez was at least a legitimate starter in there, and then Kellen Clemens. Like, I mean, it's just bad all around. No good can come out of Steelers Jets. They got to win this game. I mean, not to like beat a dead horse here, but like, the Jets are bad, and they've got to find a way to win this game. Bad things happen if you lose games like this in week 1. But I think we're going to do some picks on Thursday night with Julie here on this channel. So we'll save the picks for that. But I think they're a lot better than the Jets.
So I agree. And we just to kind of highlight what we were talking about, we have Rob mentioned Kenny Pickett debut, and then Steelers Network talking about that 2014 game. So it's good to know that we're all reminiscing in some rough.
That interception Kenny threw in 2022, I tweeted, it was just like an awful pass, awful decision, like exactly what you don't want to do. And I got like all these like horrible mentions from Pitt fans. I was like, guys, that was bad. I don't know what you want me to say. And like, that might have been the first red flag there for sure.
No, for sure. I mean, I can understand people saying, well, Claypool should have caught it. Yeah, but throwing it back across the field,
it's just,
that's a low percentage throw. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. And then Sid P kind of threw in their thoughts. Beating the Jets should be a given. This is the NFL. Sometimes there are just no givens. what is it, Mike Tomlin? What was his quote about the NFL? This isn't the Big Ten playing against the MAC. I want to say it
Yeah,
was.
it's not, but it like I said, it's not the Big Ten against the MAC, but it is
Right.
Alabama Vanderbilt, right? Like it is like,
Right.
yes, these are teams that are allegedly of the same level, but come on, we all know it's not.
No, for sure. All right, good deal. Okay, well, we'll do. Let's see. Take a couple. We'll do. Let's see. Do one more. I saw one about cornerback too. Kind of leaving off on a high note there. Kind of optimism. I believe since now they have a legit slot and cornerback too. They have more creativity up front with what they do. I think the secondary has a chance to be the best in the league. What are your thoughts there?
I think they'll be much better against the run. I mean, forget how good he is at coverage. Just think about the run game upgrade you're making, replacing Beanie Bishop with Jalen Ramsey. And like, that's not a shot at Beanie Bishop. Like Jalen Ramsey is a foot taller, significantly stronger, like just a way better run defender. And then is also better in coverage. So I think they'll be better run defenders first and foremost with that change. Also by the inclusion of Derek Harmon, Y.A. Black, a year better Peyton Wilson. And then I think, so much of what they did last year was just because they had guys in the back end that they were playing, but they didn't really trust. And that guys like Dante Jackson and Beanie Bishop were out there, but they felt like they limited what they could legitimately do. Like you could not man cover the Cincinnati Bengals last year. You just could not. You could pretend like you were going to. That was about as close as you could come. Now I think they feel like they have the horses to actually go out and do it. Not to say they're going to do it all the time, although they run man a bunch in general. But like, I think they have the threat to do more. And I think that really helps. It helps you blitz more if you feel like you need to. It helps you disguise coverages and roll guys around. The flexibility of the different defensive personnel to handle different assignments is really nice. Last year, Joey Porter got the best receiver almost no matter what he looked like. Like this year, like if the best receiver is 6'5", maybe you want to give him Joey Porter. If the best receiver is 5'10", then you definitely don't want to. Give him to Ramsey. Like I think there's the flexibility those guys afford them is significant, and I think it's going to make the defense really, really good. Might take some time to come out. Like they've made a wholesale change to the entire way they approach coverage in terms of they went from scheming around a huge weakness at the slot corner over the last 3 years, right? Beanie and Sutton last year, Shannon Sullivan the year before that, or before that. That was the worst player of their 11 for each of the last 3 years. Now you could make an argument Ramsey's one of the best. So like they're gonna have to do things pretty differently. It might not go perfectly at first. I think it's one of the reasons that Mike Tomlin wanted to see the starting secondary out there together in the preseason. But we didn't really get a great look against the Panthers scrubs. So I think, the Jets aren't going to test them a lot. So that's a good thing. But we'll see how things go early on. But I think they could be really, really good on defense for sure.
No, absolutely. And we'll leave off on this on Facebook. Kevin Mooneyham says, I believe they can cover. Let's talk covering the spread a little bit. Do the Steelers cover the spread on Sunday?
You're going to have to watch Pelusi's Pick'em on Thursday night to get that answer from me. Job, you can give it here, but mine is still coming.
I'm going to say they do, and I think it's going to be a slow start, but I think the second half things are going to pick up, and I think the Steelers are going to come away, I'm going to say 9-point victory. I think that's what they'll do.
There you go. You heard it from the man. You'll get my picks tomorrow on Pelusi's Pick'em. Me and Julie Pelusi here on the YouTube channel at 8 p.m. And also on the audio platforms. This live podcast will be rebroadcast on the audio platforms as soon as we're done. But live, you got to be on YouTube, you got to be on Facebook, you got to be on Twitter to get this show. And then, of course, we'll still have all our normal Morning Rush, Afternoon Drive, YouTube, wherever you find podcasts as well, the whole rest of the week. And then a live post game. Again, here on these platforms with me and Smitty after Steelers Jets in week 1. Job, take it away.
Excellent. Good deal. Well, guys, we appreciate everyone joining this significant adventure, and marks a great point in Steelers Now history as we're going to continue this. And for everyone here at Steelers Now, thank you, Alan Saunders, for the opportunity and for joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing everyone tune in tomorrow and tuning in for the post-game show on Sunday. For Job here on Steelers Night Shift, want to tell you guys good night. And Alan, do you have any closing words?
See you next week.
See y'all next week.